The trauma bay doors exploded inward. Metal scraped concrete. Someone was screaming. A gurney crashed through the entrance wheels, shrieking against linoleum. The man strapped to it had more blood outside his body than in. It pulsed from his neck in rhythmic spurts, painting the white sheets crimson. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered, casting shadows that made the whole scene look like something out of a horror film. GSW to the neck, carotid artery compromised. The paramedic's voice cut through the chaos. ETA on the attending, 20 minutes out. The charge nurse grabbed for supplies, hands already shaking. We need to stabilize until... Anna Hayes stepped forward. She had been standing in the corner, coffee cup halfway to her lips, night shift exhaustion written across her face. 3 months into this job. 3 months of keeping her head down, blending in, staying invisible. But her feet moved before her brain could stop them. Her hands found the wound. Blood spilled over her fingers, hot and insistent. Everyone else saw chaos. Anna saw a map. Her fingertips traced the torn vessel beneath shredded tissue, reading the damage like Braille. The room fell away. No sounds, no lights. Just her and the dying man and the surgery her hands remembered. The suture needle appeared in her palm. She threaded it without looking. 1. The needle pierced tissue. 2. It curved through the vessel wall. 3. The knot pulled tight. The bleeding stopped. Just like that. 3 seconds. Maybe less. Anna pulled back, staring at her own hands like they belonged to someone else. The patient's monitor beeped steadily. His color was already improving. Around her, the trauma team stood, frozen mouths open, eyes wide. That was when she felt it. The weight of someone's stare. Dr. Marcus Reed stood in the doorway. The chief of surgery. 15 years of trauma experience. Hands that had saved hundreds of lives. And right now, those hands were clenched into fists at his sides. His face had gone pale. Not with relief, with recognition. He stepped into the room slow and deliberate. His eyes never left Anna's hands. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. Dangerous. What the hell did I just watch? The other nurses busied themselves with the patient. Nobody wanted to be part of whatever was about to happen. Anna stripped off her gloves, tried to make her voice steady. I just applied pressure and... Don't. Dr. Reed moved closer. Don't insult my intelligence. I've been a trauma surgeon for 15 years. What you just did requires a decade of surgical training. Minimum. His gaze locked onto hers. No nurse learns that from YouTube videos. The room was watching now. Anna could feel their eyes, their questions, their curiosity burning into her back. I got lucky, she said. Lucky. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Lucky. Right. He gestured to the patient. Get him stabilized and move to the ICU. Then you... He pointed at Anna. My office. Now. It wasn't a request. Anna wanted to run. She had gotten good at running. 6 years of practice. New city, new name, new life. Rinse and repeat. But running now would only confirm what he already suspected. Dr. Reed had seen something in those 3 seconds. Something that broke through her carefully constructed disguise. He knew. She followed him down the corridor, each step heavier than the last. Behind them, she heard whispers starting. By morning, the whole hospital would be talking. 6 years. 6 years of hiding, of staying small, of burying who she used to be. All destroyed in 3 seconds. Her name was Anna Hayes. But that was a lie. Everything about her was a lie. 6 years ago, camera flashes had exploded in her face outside a different hospital. Headlines had screamed her real name, her real crime. Surgeon kills senator's son, Dr. Reed pushed open his office door and stepped aside, waiting for her to enter. In the fluorescent light of the hallway, she could see it in his eyes. He was going to ask the question. The one question that would end everything. Before we dive into what happens next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments. It really helps us reach more viewers like you who love intense medical dramas. Dr. Reed's office smelled like old leather and stale coffee, the kind of smell that came from too many late nights and not enough sleep. He closed the door behind them with a soft click that sounded like a prison cell locking. Anna stood in the middle of the room, hands clasped in front of her, trying to look calm, trying to look like a night shift nurse who had just gotten lucky. But her heart was hammering so hard, she was sure he could hear it. Dr. Reed didn't sit. He leaned against his desk, arms crossed blocking her only exit. His expression wasn't angry. That would have been easier. This was something worse. Calculation. Like he was solving a puzzle and already knew what the final picture would look like. "Sit down," he said. "I need to get back to my patients." "Your patients are fine." He gestured to the chair. "You, however, are not." Anna sat. The leather creaked beneath her. Dr. Reed pulled out a tablet, fingers moving across the screen. "I looked you up. Anna Hayes. Your nursing license is legitimate. Your references check out. Northwestern Memorial gave you a glowing recommendation." He turned the screen toward her. "But there's something interesting." The screen showed her employment history. 3 years at Northwestern. 6 months in Detroit before that. Another year in Boston. All nursing positions. All legitimate. "You noticed the pattern?" Dr. Reed asked. Anna said nothing. "You never stay anywhere longer than 3 years. And before that?" He swiped to another screen. "Nothing. Anna Hayes didn't exist before 6 years ago. No social media, no digital footprint, no college records. It's like you materialized out of thin air. Some people value their privacy." "Privacy." He set the tablet down. "Is that what we're calling it?" Anna met his eyes, held his gaze. "What exactly are you accusing me of?" Dr. Reed walked to the window. Chicago's skyline glittered in the darkness beyond. "That suturing technique you used tonight. I've only seen it performed by one surgeon." He turned back to her. "Dr. Emma Cross. She was a cardiovascular prodigy, one of the best in the country. 32 years old and already performing surgeries that surgeons twice her age couldn't manage." Anna's throat went dry. 6 years ago, Dr. Reed continued, Dr. Cross performed an emergency surgery on Michael Blackwood, 28 years old, son of Senator William Blackwood of Illinois. He paused. Michael died on her table. The senator called it negligence. The media called it murder. Dr. Cross disappeared before the medical board could finish their investigation. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. Dr. Reed pulled up a video on his tablet. Security footage from tonight. The trauma bay. Anna could see herself moving hands flying across the patient's neck. He played it in slow motion. "See that?" He pointed. "The way you angle the needle. 23 degrees. That's the Crossley technique, modified with a lateral approach. Only one surgeon in North America uses that exact variation." His eyes found hers again. "Dr. Emma Cross would be about your age now. Same height. Similar build." Anna stood. "I don't know what you think you saw, but I'm just a nurse who got lucky tonight. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." "Then prove it." She stopped at the door. "What?" Dr. Reed tapped his tablet. "There's a surgery scheduled for tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., complex aortic repair. The patient is high risk. 70% mortality rate even under ideal conditions." He held up the screen showing CT scans of a massive dissection. "If you're just a nurse who got lucky, you won't know what to do with this." Anna looked at the scan. Her mind automatically started mapping the repair. First graft here, second graft there. Hypothermic circulatory arrest to buy time. She caught herself, forced her face to stay neutral. "But if you're Emma Cross," Dr. Reed said quietly, "then I need to know why a brilliant surgeon is hiding as a nurse in my emergency room." Anna's hand was on the doorknob. She should leave. Pack her bags tonight. Be on a bus to Minneapolis by morning. Start over. Again. But something in his voice stopped her. It wasn't just curiosity. There was something else underneath. Something that sounded almost like desperation. "Why do you care?" she asked without turning around. Silence stretched between them. Then, "Because in 6 months I'm going to lose my surgical license." Anna turned. Dr. Reed held up his right hand. In the fluorescent light she could see it. A tremor. Slight but unmistakable. His fingers shook like leaves in wind. "Early onset Parkinson's," he said. "Stage 2. I've been hiding it for 8 months. But it's getting worse." He lowered his hand. "Soon everyone will know, and everything I've built will be gone." For the first time since she'd entered the office, Anna saw past the chief of surgery. She saw a man watching his entire world crumble, just like hers had. "What does that have to do with me?" she asked. "If you are who I think you are," Dr. Reed said, "then maybe we can help each other." Anna didn't go home that night. She sat in her car in the parking garage for 2 hours, staring at nothing. Thinking about Dr. Reed's proposition. Thinking about the scans of that patient who would be dead in 48 hours without surgery. Thinking about the last time she'd held a scalpel. The memory came whether she wanted it or not. 6 years ago, Massachusetts General Hospital, operating room 7. She had been Dr. Emma Cross then, rising star of cardiac surgery, featured in medical journals, invited to speak at conferences, the youngest surgeon ever to perform a successful aortic arch replacement at Mass General. Michael Blackwood had come in on a Tuesday, 28 years old, athletic, healthy. Routine chest pains. Nothing the initial workup suggested would be complicated. The surgery was supposed to be simple, a valve repair. 2 hours, maybe 3. Emma had scrubbed in at 7 a.m., confident and focused. The surgical team was experienced. The equipment was top of the line. Everything was perfect. Until it wasn't. 40 minutes into the procedure, Michael's aorta had torn. Not a small tear, a catastrophic rupture. Blood had flooded the surgical field faster than suction could clear it. Emma had worked for 90 minutes trying to save him. 90 minutes of desperate, perfect surgery. But the tissue kept tearing. The vessel walls were like wet paper disintegrating under her fingers. Time of death. 17 a.m. She had stood there, hands covered in blood, staring at the monitor's flat line, knowing she had done everything right, knowing it hadn't been enough. The autopsy report came back 3 days later. Marfan syndrome, a genetic disorder that weakened connective tissue. Michael's aorta had been a time bomb waiting to explode. No surgeon could have saved him. But Senator Blackwood didn't care about autopsy reports. The press conference had been brutal. Cameras everywhere. Flashbulbs exploding like gunfire. The senator red-faced and grieving, pointing at Emma through the crowd. "She killed my son. She was reckless, negligent. She should never be allowed near another patient." The medical board had launched an investigation. The hospital had suspended her pending the outcome. Her colleagues had stopped making eye contact in the hallways. Then came the death threats. Letters to her apartment. Emails with graphic descriptions of what people wanted to do to her. Protesters outside the hospital with signs that read, "Murderer and justice for Michael." Emma had lasted 2 weeks before she broke. She cut her hair short, dyed it brown, changed her name, disappeared. Dr. Emma Cross died. Anna Hayes was born from the ashes. For 6 years she had moved from city to city, hospital to hospital, always nursing, never surgery, keeping her head down, staying invisible. Until tonight. Anna sat up in her car, wiping her eyes. She hadn't realized she'd been crying. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. The patient's name is David Chen, 42 years old, father of 3. If we don't operate, he'll be dead by Friday. I know you can save him. The question is, will you? Below the message was an attachment. More scans of the dissection, worse than what Dr. Reed had shown her in the office. This wasn't just complex. This was a nightmare. Anna stared at the images. Her fingers itched. She could see the repair pathway. First, stabilize the arch, then address the descending aorta. It would take 6 hours, maybe 7, and every second would be a battle. She typed back, "How did you get my number?" The response came immediately. "I'm the chief of surgery. I have everyone's number. So, are you in?" Anna sat in the darkness of the parking garage, thumb hovering over the keyboard. She thought about Michael Blackwood dying on her table. She thought about Senator Blackwood's face, twisted with rage and grief. She thought about 6 years of running. Then she thought about David Chen, father of 3, 42 years old, dying. She typed, "I'll look at the scans. That's all I'm promising. That's all I'm asking. For now." Anna drove home as dawn started breaking over Chicago. Her apartment was small, cheap, anonymous. The kind of place you could leave without anyone noticing. She'd done it before. But when she opened her laptop and pulled up the scans Dr. Reed had sent, something shifted inside her. This was what she had been trained to do. This was who she was underneath all the running and hiding and fear. She spent the next 6 hours mapping out the surgery. Every cut, every suture, every potential complication. By noon, she had a complete surgical plan. It could work. It would be dangerous, but it could work. Her phone rang. Dr. Reed. She answered. "Have you looked at the scans?" he asked. "Yes." And Emma, because that's who she was when she thought about surgery, closed her eyes. It's possible. Barely. But there are about 17 ways it could go wrong. 18, Dr. Reed said. I counted. Despite everything, Emma almost smiled. "You want me to teach you. I want you to save David Chen. And yes, I want you to teach me techniques that might let me keep operating for a few more years." He paused. "In exchange, I keep your secret. No one else needs to know who you really are. And if I say no, then David Chen dies, and I lose my career, and you keep running for the rest of your life." His voice softened. "But I don't think you want to run anymore." He was right. She was so tired of running. "If I do this," Emma said slowly, "and anyone finds out who I am, I disappear. You'll never see me again. Understood. Understood. And this is a one-time thing. I help with this surgery, I teach you what I can, and then we're done." Agreed. Emma looked at the scans one more time. The dissection was massive, complex, terrifying. But she had faced worse. No, that was a lie. She had never faced worse. This was the kind of surgery that ended careers, or saved them. "Operating room 3, she said. "Tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. I'll need to review the patient's full medical history tonight. I'll have everything sent to you within the hour. And Dr. Reed, yes, if your hands shake even once during this surgery, I'm taking over. No arguments, no ego. The patient's life comes first." There was a long pause. Then, "Deal." Emma hung up, sat in her apartment, stared at her hands. These hands had saved hundreds of lives. These hands had failed to save Michael Blackwood. These hands had been hidden for 6 years. Tomorrow, they would hold a scalpel again. She should have felt terrified. Instead, she felt something she hadn't felt in 6 years. Alive. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She reviewed David Chen's medical records 17 times, memorized every detail. His blood type, his allergies, his previous surgeries, the exact measurements of his aorta. At 3 a.m., she got dressed, not in scrubs, in real clothes. A surgery might make her Emma Cross again, but she wasn't ready to completely let go of Anna Hayes. Not yet. She arrived at Chicago Memorial at 4:30. The hospital was quiet. Night shift winding down. Day shift not yet started. The in-between time when hospitals felt almost peaceful. Dr. Reed was already in the surgical prep area, reviewing scans on the computer. When he saw her, something shifted in his expression. Relief, maybe. Or recognition. "You came," he said. "I didn't agree to anything permanent." "I know." He turned the monitor toward her. "These are the latest images from last night. The dissection has extended." Emma looked at the scans. Her heart sank. What had been barely possible yesterday was now almost impossible. "Jesus," she whispered, "can it still be done?" She studied the images, ran through the surgery in her mind. Faster techniques, riskier approaches. "Maybe," she said finally, "but the mortality rate just jumped to 80%. So there's a chance. A 20% chance." Dr. Reed met her eyes. "That's better than zero." Emma thought about David Chen, 42 years old, father of 3, dying. "Operating room 3, she said. "Let's get set up." They worked in silence, prepping the surgical suite, laying out instruments, double-checking equipment. The ritual of surgery familiar as breathing. Other staff started arriving. Residents, nurses, the anesthesiologist. They all gave Emma curious looks. The night shift nurse who was suddenly in the surgical suite at 5 a.m., Dr. Reed handled it smoothly. "Anna is observing this morning. Educational opportunity." No one questioned the chief of surgery. At 5:40, they wheeled David Chen into the operating room. He was already sedated, prepped ready. Emma looked at his face. Peaceful, unaware that he was about to undergo one of the most dangerous surgeries possible. The anesthesiologist began the process of putting him under completely. Emma stood beside the operating table, gloved and gowned. For 6 years, she had avoided this moment. For 6 years, she had convinced herself she would never do this again. Dr. Reed stood across from her. Their eyes met over the patient. "Ready?" he asked. No, she would never be ready. Not after Michael Blackwood. Not after everything that happened. But David Chen didn't have time for her fear. "Ready," Emma said. The anesthesiologist nodded. "He's under. You're good to go." Emma picked up the scalpel. The weight of it felt like coming home and falling off a cliff at the same time. She looked at Dr. Reed one more time. Then she made the first incision. Part 3, The Devil's Bargain. Blood bloomed under the scalpel like a dark flower opening. Emma's hands moved with muscle memory, 6 years old, parting tissue exposing the chest cavity. The monitors beeped steadily. David Chen's heart beat strong and regular, unaware of the battle about to begin. "Retractor," Emma said. A nurse placed the instrument in her palm. Cold metal, familiar weight. Emma positioned it, creating the window she needed to see the damage. And there it was. The aorta, or what was left of it. The dissection was worse than the scans had shown. The vessel wall was paper-thin in places bulging with pressure. A time bomb wrapped in tissue. "Jesus Christ," Dr. Reed breathed beside her. "We need 2 grafts," Emma said, keeping her voice steady. "Professional. This section here and this one." She pointed with a clamp. "Can you get better exposure?" Dr. Reed adjusted the retractors. His hands were steady. No tremor yet. Good. Emma worked quickly, assessing every millimeter of damaged tissue. The dissection extended further than she'd anticipated. If they didn't replace the entire affected section, the remaining tissue could tear at any moment. "Clamp," she said. The instrument appeared in her hand. She positioned it carefully, isolating the blood flow. One wrong move and David Chen would bleed out in seconds. "First graft ready?" she asked. "Ready," the scrub nurse confirmed. Emma cut away the damaged section of aorta. The vessel gaped open, held closed only by the clamps. She could feel everyone in the room holding their breath. This was the moment. Success or failure. Life or death. She positioned the first graft, a synthetic tube that would replace the destroyed vessel. Her needle moved through tissue precise and fast. Each suture had to be perfect. Too loose and it would leak. Too tight and the tissue would tear. The monitors continued their steady rhythm. David Chen's heart kept beating, unaware of the surgery happening inches away. 30 minutes passed. Emma's shoulders ached from the position bent over the open chest. Sweat beaded on her forehead. A nurse dabbed it away without being asked. "First graft is secure," Emma announced. "Starting on the second." Dr. Reed shifted position, giving her better access. "Your technique," he said quietly. "It's beautiful." Emma didn't respond. She couldn't afford distraction. Not now. The second graft was more complicated. The dissection had extended into smaller vessels, branches that fed critical organs. She had to work around them, preserving blood flow while replacing the damaged main artery. Her hands moved in a rhythm only she could hear. Thread, pierce, pull, knot. Thread, pierce, pull, knot. "Pressure's dropping," the anesthesiologist said. 90/60. Emma's eyes flicked to the monitors. Not critical yet, but heading that direction. "Increase fluids," she said. "We're almost there." But they weren't almost there. As Emma sutured the second graft into place, she saw it. Another section of weakened tissue, hidden behind the first dissection. The scans hadn't caught it because it had been obscured by the larger tear. If they finished the surgery now, this section would fail within days. Maybe hours. "We have a problem," Emma said. Dr. Reed leaned closer. "What am I looking at?" "Secondary dissection. See here?" Emma pointed with forceps. "The wall is already separating. It's going to blow." "Can we repair it?" "We have to. Otherwise, this whole surgery is pointless." The anesthesiologist spoke up. "He's been under for 3 hours already." "How much longer?" "Another hour. Maybe 90 minutes. Emma looked at Dr. Reed. "Can you maintain retraction that long?" He nodded, but Emma saw it, the slight tremor in his right hand. "Starting." "I've got it," he said, seeing her notice. "Tell me the second you don't." They worked in silence after that. Emma's focus narrowed to the tiny section of vessel in front of her. Everything else disappeared. The room, the people, the monitors. Just her and the surgery. Thread, pierce, pull, knot. Her hands remembered this. They had done it hundreds of times before Michael Blackwood. Before everything fell apart. 90 minutes later, Emma tied the final suture. "Done," she said. "Let's close." The tension in the room released like a held breath. Nurses smiled behind their masks. The anesthesiologist gave a thumbs up. Dr. Reed stepped back from the table. His hands were shaking visibly now. Emma saw him clench them into fists, trying to hide it. "Good work," she said quietly. "I barely did anything. You gave me the exposure I needed. That matters." They closed David Chen's chest together, layer by layer, tissue and muscle and skin. By the time they finished, the sun was fully up, streaming through the operating room windows. Emma stripped off her gloves. Her hands ached. Her back screamed. But David Chen was alive, stable. The monitors showed strong vitals, good pressure, steady rhythm. "Thank you," Dr. Reed said. "I couldn't have done this without you." Emma looked at the patient one more time. "Let's just hope he makes it through recovery." They walked out of the OR together, both exhausted, both riding the adrenaline high that came after a successful surgery. The kind of high Emma had forgotten existed. The hallway outside was quiet. Early morning. Most of the hospital still waking up. That's when Emma saw her. A woman stood near the nurse's station. Tall, blonde, expensive suit that screamed money and power. She was looking at her phone, but when Emma and Dr. Reed emerged, she looked up, her eyes locked on Emma's face, and Emma's world tilted sideways. Victoria Blackwood, 6 years older, more polished, but unmistakably the daughter of Senator William Blackwood, the sister of Michael Blackwood. the woman whose family had destroyed Emma's life. "Dr. Cross," Victoria said. Her voice was smooth, controlled. "Or should I call you Anna Hayes?" Emma's feet stopped moving. Her heart, which had stayed steady through 4 hours of surgery, now hammered against her ribs. Dr. Reed moved slightly in front of her, protective. "This is a restricted area. You need to leave." "I'm not here to cause trouble, Dr. Reed." Victoria's eyes never left Emma's face. "I just need to talk to Dr. Cross. Privately." "Absolutely not," Dr. Reed said. Emma found her voice. It came out steadier than she felt. "It's okay." Dr. Reed turned to her, concern written across his face. "Anna, you don't have to do this." "Yes, I do." Because running wouldn't help. Victoria had already found her. Whatever was about to happen, avoiding it would only make things worse. Victoria gestured toward an empty consultation room. "Please." Emma followed her each step, feeling like walking toward an execution. Behind them, Dr. Reed called out, "I'll be right here if you need me." The consultation room was small, sterile, impersonal. Victoria closed the door and leaned against it, studying Emma with an intensity that made her skin crawl. "You look different," Victoria said. "The hair, no makeup, but I'd recognize you anywhere." Emma crossed her arms. "How did you find me?" "I've known where you were for 3 months. I hired a private investigator after my father started getting sick." Victoria pulled out her phone, showed Emma a photo. Surveillance shot of Emma entering Chicago Memorial. "I've been watching, waiting." "For what?" "For the right moment." Victoria pocketed her phone. "You're the woman who killed my brother." The words hit like a physical blow. Even after 6 years, hearing it out loud hurt. "I didn't kill him," Emma said. Her voice was ice. "He had Marfan syndrome. His aorta was going to rupture eventually. I just happened to be there when it did." "I know," Emma blinked. "What?" Victoria moved to the window, looking out at Chicago's skyline. "I read the autopsy reports. All of them. The official one my father released to the press. And the real one." She turned back to Emma. "The one that showed Michael had Marfan syndrome. The one that proved you did everything right." The room spun. "Then why are you here?" "Because my father is dying." Victoria's composure cracked slightly. "Same condition that killed Michael. Aortic dissection. And it's getting worse every day." Emma laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. "Good. Let him die. He destroyed my life. Seems like karma to me. I understand why you feel that way." "Do you?" Emma stepped closer. "Do you understand what it's like to have your entire career destroyed? To get death threats every day? To have to change your name and hide like a criminal?" "No," Victoria said quietly. "I don't, but I understand what it's like to lose a brother. And I'm about to understand what it's like to lose a father." Emma turned away, couldn't look at the grief in Victoria's eyes. It was too raw, too familiar. "What do you want from me?" Emma asked. "I want you to save him." Emma actually laughed this time. "You're insane." "Probably." Victoria pulled out a tablet, showed Emma medical scans. "But I'm also desperate. These are from last week. His aorta is dissecting, slowly, painfully. He has maybe 2 weeks left." Emma looked at the scans despite herself. The dissection was massive, extended from the aortic arch down to the renal arteries. It would require incredible precision and luck. "Every surgeon we've consulted has refused to operate," Victoria continued. "Too risky, too complicated, too afraid of the Blackwood family's reputation for litigation." "Smart surgeons." "But you've done this surgery before." Victoria gestured toward the operating rooms. "You did it this morning. I have sources in this hospital. I know what you're capable of." Emma shook her head. "Your father ruined me. He went on national television and called me a murderer. He used his political power to destroy my career, my reputation, my entire life." Her voice shook with rage. "And now you want me to save him. Why would I ever agree to that?" Victoria's mask crumbled completely. For the first time, Emma saw real emotion. Fear, desperation, grief. "Because he's my father," Victoria whispered. "And I know he doesn't deserve your mercy. I know what he did was unforgivable. But I'm begging you anyway." "No. Please." I said no. Emma moved toward the door. "Find another surgeon." "There is no other surgeon." Victoria's voice cracked. "You're the only one who can save him." Emma's hand was on the doorknob. "Then he's going to die. And honestly, I'm okay with that." She walked out. Dr. Reed was waiting in the hallway, exactly where he'd said he'd be. "Are you all right?" he asked. "Fine." Emma kept walking. "I need some air." She made it to the stairwell before the shaking started, collapsed against the wall, sliding down until she was sitting on the cold, concrete floor. Victoria Blackwood wanted her to save Senator Blackwood, the man who had destroyed her life. The irony was almost funny. Almost. Emma sat there for 20 minutes before her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. "You have 48 hours to decide. After that, it won't matter. He'll be gone." Below the message was an attachment. More scans of the senator's aorta, worse than what Victoria had shown her. Emma stared at the images. Professional instinct kicked in despite her anger. She could see the repair pathway. It would be difficult, dangerous, but possible. She deleted the message, stood up, went back to work. But the scans stayed in her mind, all through her shift, all through the evening. When she finally went home at midnight exhausted and wrung out, she couldn't stop thinking about them. Could she really let Senator Blackwood die, even after everything he'd done? Her phone rang at 2 a.m. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello? Dr. Cross," Victoria's voice. "I'm sorry to call so late, but my father wants to talk to you." "I don't want to talk to him." "Please, just 5 minutes." "He's at Chicago Memorial. Private room on the 7th floor. He's asking for you." Emma should have hung up. Should have blocked the number. Should have packed her bags and left Chicago that night. Instead, she got dressed. The hospital was quiet at 2:30 in the morning. Emma showed her badge to security, took the elevator to the 7th floor. Private wing, where the wealthy patients stayed. Senator Blackwood's room was at the end of the hall. 2 security guards stood outside. They let her pass without comment. The room was dark, except for monitors casting blue light across the walls. Senator Blackwood lay in the bed, connected to IV lines and oxygen. He looked old, sick, nothing like the powerful man who'd stood in front of cameras 6 years ago demanding justice. "Dr. Hartman," he said. His voice was weak. "Thank you for coming." Emma didn't move from the doorway. "I'm not staying. I just came to tell you no in person." "Fair enough." He coughed, winced in pain. "Can I at least explain?" "There's nothing to explain. Your son died. You blamed me. End of story. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." Senator Blackwood was quiet for a long moment. "You're right. I destroyed you. I used my power and influence to ruin your career because I needed someone to blame for Michael's death." He looked at her with watery eyes. "I was wrong. And I'm sorry. Your apology doesn't bring back my career. It doesn't give me back 6 years of my life." "I know." He gestured weakly to a folder on the bedside table. "That's why I've prepared a full exoneration, public statement, press conference, everything. The truth about Michael's Marfan syndrome, the truth about how I suppressed the autopsy findings, all of it." Emma stared at the folder. "Why now?" "Because I'm dying. And before I go, I want to try to fix some of the damage I've caused." He met her eyes. "Please, let me try to make this right." Emma wanted to throw the folder in his face, wanted to tell him it was too little too late, wanted to walk out and let him die alone. But she didn't. She picked up the folder, opened it. Inside was a full legal document: exoneration, restoration of medical license, public apology, financial compensation, everything she'd wanted for 6 years. All she had to do was save the man who'd destroyed her. "I need to think about it," Emma said. "Take whatever time you need. I have maybe 2 weeks, maybe less." Emma left the room without another word. The folder felt heavy in her hands. She went back to her apartment, sat in the darkness, stared at the legal document. At 4 a.m., she was still sitting there when she heard voices in the hallway outside Senator Blackwood's hospital room. She'd come back unable to sleep walking the halls. Victoria's voice, and a man's voice Emma didn't recognize. She moved closer to the door, listened. "You can't do this," Victoria was saying. "Not now, not when he's about to have surgery. The election is in 3 weeks." The man's voice was cold, calculating. "If he dies on that table, the party needs someone ready to step into his position. That's you, Victoria. You need to be ready. I'm not letting you use my father's death for political gain. It's already done. We've prepared the press release, the campaign materials." A pause. "All we need is for the surgery to fail." Emma's blood ran cold. "What?" Victoria's voice was sharp, shocked. "Think about it. He dies during surgery. Emma Cross gets blamed. Again. You take his Senate seat. Win the sympathy vote. It's perfect." "Richard, that's insane. You're talking about murdering my father." Richard Sterling, the senator's campaign manager. "I'm talking about seizing an opportunity," Sterling said. "Your father is dying anyway. We're just helping the timeline along." "Get out!" Victoria's voice shook with rage. "Get out now, or I call security." Emma heard footsteps, moving toward the door. She ducked into a supply closet, heart pounding. Sterling walked past phone, already pressed to his ear. Emma caught fragments of conversation. "Surgeon is Emma Cross. Yes, the one from the scandal. Easy target. If anything goes wrong, she takes the fall again. Already have people in place." The words hit Emma like ice water. This wasn't about saving Senator Blackwood. This was a setup. If the surgery failed, Sterling would blame her. Again. But this time, it wouldn't just be her career destroyed. This time she'd face criminal charges. Murder charges. Emma waited until Sterling was gone. Then she slipped out of the supply closet and ran. She found Dr. Reed in the surgeon's lounge, still awake, always working. "We have a problem," Emma said. "A big one." She told him everything. The visit from Victoria, the scans, the conversation she'd overheard. Dr. Reed listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each word. When she finished, he said, "We cancel the surgery. Now. This is too dangerous. If we cancel, they win. Sterling will spin it as me refusing to help a dying patient. Better than you going to prison for murder." Emma paced the small room. "But if we go through with it and document everything, video record the entire surgery, have witnesses, legal protection, you can't guarantee the surgery will succeed. This is a dissection that could kill him on the table, even if you do everything right." "I know." Dr. Reed stood, gripped her shoulders. "Emma, listen to me. You've spent 6 years running from what happened to Michael Blackwood. Don't walk right back into the same trap. What choice do I have if I refuse? I'm the villain who let a patient die. If I operate and he dies, I'm a murderer." She met his eyes. "Either way, I lose. Then we fight. We expose Sterling before the surgery. We go to the police. With what evidence? A conversation I overheard while hiding in a supply closet." They stood in silence. The clock on the wall ticked toward dawn. Finally, Dr. Reed said, "Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But Emma, please, think about this carefully. Your freedom, your life. They're worth more than proving yourself to people who already made up their minds about you." Emma looked at him. This man who had uncovered her secret and instead of exposing her, had offered partnership. Trust. "I need to talk to Victoria," Emma said. She found Victoria still in her father's hospital room. The senator was asleep. Victoria sat in a chair by the window, face in her hands. She looked up when Emma entered. "You heard. All of it. I didn't know." Victoria stood. "I swear to God, I didn't know what Sterling was planning." "I believe you." Emma closed the door. "But your father's campaign manager is setting me up to take the fall if this surgery goes wrong. And I need to know if you're part of it." "No." Victoria's voice was fierce. "I came to you because I genuinely want to save my father, not because of some political scheme." "Then prove it. Help me." "How?" Emma pulled out her phone. "You said you've been recording Sterling. Do you have anything we can use?" Victoria's eyes widened. "I have everything." Victoria pulled out her phone. Her hands shook slightly as she scrolled through files. "I started recording Sterling 3 weeks ago, after my father told me he wanted to retire. Sterling's reaction was wrong. Too angry. Too desperate." She turned the screen toward Emma. "Audio files. Dozens of them. I've been documenting every conversation, every meeting, every phone call I could catch." Victoria's voice was tight with anger. "I knew he was ambitious. I didn't know he was a monster." Emma took the phone, scrolling through the recordings. Dates, times, detailed notes about each conversation. "This is good," Emma said. "But we need more. We need proof that he's planning to sabotage the surgery." "He won't be stupid enough to say it directly." "No, but he'll tell someone. People like Sterling always need accomplices." Emma handed the phone back. "Can you keep recording everything? Every interaction?" "Already planning on it." Victoria glanced at her father, still sleeping in the bed. "I want to save him. But not like this. Not with you as collateral damage." Emma studied Victoria's face, saw genuine distress there, genuine determination. "Okay," Emma said. "Here's what we're going to do." They talked for an hour, planning, strategizing. By the time Emma left, the sun was rising over Chicago. She found Dr. Reed exactly where she'd left him. Surgeon's lounge, coffee cup empty, eyes tired. "Well," he asked, "we're doing the surgery, but with safeguards." Emma sat down across from him. "Full video documentation, extra surgical staff, independent observers. And I want hospital legal present before we even start." "That's a lot of witnesses." "That's the point. Sterling wants to pin this on me if it goes wrong. Can't do that if there are 20 people in the room watching every move I make." Dr. Reed nodded slowly. "What about Victoria?" "She's going to keep recording Sterling, get us proof of the setup." Emma rubbed her eyes, exhausted. "And she's going to make sure her father signs a full legal waiver before surgery, absolving me of liability." "You really think Senator Blackwood will sign that?" "Victoria says he will. Apparently he's genuinely trying to make amends." Emma's voice was bitter. 6 years too late. Dr. Reed was quiet for a moment. Then, "You know this could still go wrong. Even with all the precautions. Dissections like this have a 70% mortality rate." "I know. If he dies on that table, Sterling will still find a way to blame you." "Probably." Emma met his eyes. "But at least this time, I'll have proof I did everything right. Last time I had nothing. Just my word against a senator's." Dr. Reed reached across the table, squeezed her hand. "Then let's make sure we document everything." The next 36 hours passed in a blur. Emma reviewed the senator's medical files obsessively. Every scan, every blood test, every previous surgery. She mapped out the repair in her mind 100 different times. Dr. Reed arranged for extra staff, 2 additional surgical residents, an independent anesthesiologist, a hospital administrator to observe and document. Victoria delivered the signed waiver personally, Her father's signature at the bottom, shaky but legible. "He wants to see you," Victoria said, "before the surgery." Emma shook her head. "I can't. Not yet. He understands." But that night, Emma found herself walking back to the 7th floor, back to Senator Blackwood's room. He was awake this time, sitting up, looking slightly better with IV fluids and medication. "Dr. Cross," he said when she entered, "I wasn't sure you'd come." Emma stayed near the door. Escape route clear. "I'm not here for a heart-to-heart. I just need to review your surgical consent one more time." "Of course." He gestured to the folder on the bedside table. "Everything Victoria promised is in there. Full exoneration, public apology, financial compensation." Emma picked up the folder, flipped through the documents again. Legal language that promised to restore everything that had been taken from her. "Why?" she asked. "Why now? Why not 5 years ago? Or 4? Or 3? Senator Blackwood was quiet for a long moment. "Because I was a coward. I knew the truth about Michael's condition within weeks of his death. The autopsy was clear. Marfan syndrome. Genetic. Nothing you could have prevented. Then why destroy me? Because I needed someone to blame." His voice cracked. "I couldn't accept that my son died because of my genes, my family's flaw. It was easier to destroy you than face the truth." Emma felt rage building in her chest, hot and acidic. "You ruined my life because it was easier." "Yes." He didn't look away. "I'm a politician. I'm very good at making other people pay for my mistakes." "You're a monster." "I know." He met her eyes. "But I'm a dying monster who wants to try to fix at least one thing before I go." Emma stared at him. This frail old man who had once wielded such power, who had stood in front of cameras and called her a murderer, who had stolen 6 years of her life. "I'm not doing this for you," Emma said quietly. "I'm doing it because I took an oath. First, do no harm. That oath doesn't have exceptions for people I hate." "I understand. And after this surgery, win or lose, I never want to see you again." "Also understood." Emma turned to leave. "Dr. Cross." Senator Blackwood's voice stopped her. "Thank you for being a better person than I ever was." Emma didn't respond, just walked out. The surgery was scheduled for 6 a.m. Emma barely slept the night before, kept seeing the scans in her mind. The massive dissection, the paper-thin vessel walls, all the ways this could go catastrophically wrong. At 4 a.m., she gave up on sleep, went to the hospital early. The surgical suite was already being prepared. Extra equipment, backup supplies, video cameras positioned to capture every angle. Dr. Reed found her at 5 already scrubbed and gowned. "Ready?" he asked. "No." Emma looked at her hands, steady despite the fear coursing through her. "But we're out of time." At 5:30, they wheeled Senator Blackwood into the operating room. He looked small under the bright lights, vulnerable. For just a moment, Emma felt something close to pity. Then she remembered his face on television, his voice calling her a murderer. The pity evaporated. "Before we start," Emma said to the room, "I want it noted for the record that this patient has been fully informed of the risks. 70% mortality rate. Possible complications, including stroke, organ failure, and death. He has signed all appropriate waivers." The hospital administrator spoke from the corner. "Noted and documented." Victoria stood in the observation gallery. Emma could see her through the glass, pale, frightened. The anesthesiologist began the sedation process. Senator Blackwood's eyes found Emma's one last time before he went under. "Good luck," he whispered. Emma said nothing. The anesthesia took effect. Monitors showed steady vitals. The senator was under. "Scalpel," Emma said. The surgery began. The first incision was textbook perfect. Emma's hands remembered this like breathing. Scalpel through skin, through tissue, exposing the chest cavity. Retractor. Dr. Reed positioned the instrument, giving her the exposure she needed. And there it was, the aorta, bulging, fragile, a disaster waiting to happen. Jesus, one of the residents breathed. Emma ignored him, focused on the vessel, mapping the repair in real time. "We'll need 3 grafts," she said. "Maybe 4. This is worse than the scans showed." Dr. Reed leaned closer. "Can it be done? We're about to find out." Emma positioned her first clamp. "Prepare for hypothermic circulatory arrest. We're going to need to stop his heart." The anesthesiologist's eyes widened. "That's extremely risky." "So is this entire surgery. But if we don't stop blood flow completely, we can't repair the damage safely." For the next hour, Emma worked with intense focus. The first graft went in smoothly. The second required delicate maneuvering around smaller vessels. Dr. Reed assisted perfectly despite the tremor in his hands. Emma guided him, showed him techniques to compensate. They worked as a team. "Third graft ready," the scrub nurse said. Emma positioned it carefully. This was the most dangerous section. The vessel wall was almost transparent. One wrong move and it would tear completely. Her needle pierced tissue, thread pulled through, knot tied, again, and again, and again. The monitors beeped steadily. Senator Blackwood's heart stopped artificially, waited for her to finish. "Last suture," Emma said. "Almost there." That's when it happened. A section of vessel wall she hadn't even touched suddenly tore. Blood erupted into the surgical field. "Damn it!" Emma's hands flew. "Suction, more clamps." The monitors screamed, blood pressure plummeting. "We're losing him," the anesthesiologist shouted. Emma worked faster than she'd ever worked. Clamping, suctioning, finding the tear. It was hidden. Behind the grafts she'd already placed. A second dissection that the scans hadn't shown. "I need exposure here," she said to Dr. Reed. "Now." He adjusted retractors. His hands shook badly now, but he held steady. Emma found the tear, grabbed a patch, started suturing. The blood kept coming, faster than she could work. "Pressure's at 40, the anesthesiologist warned. "Any lower and we've lost him." Emma's hands moved in a blur. She'd read about this technique, never performed it. Experimental, dangerous. 30% success rate, but it was the only option. "Lateral patch reinforcement," she said. "With hypothermic modification." "That's not proven," one of the residents said. "Neither is any of this." Emma positioned the patch. "But it's all we've got." She worked. Faster than humanly possible. Her training, her instinct. Everything she'd learned in 15 years of surgery compressed into 90 seconds of perfect execution. The patch went in. Sutures flew through tissue, knots pulled tight. The bleeding slowed, then stopped. "Pressure rising," the anesthesiologist said. 50, 60, 70. Emma didn't let herself breathe yet. Checked every suture, every graft, every connection, all holding. "Restart his heart," she said. The anesthesiologist administered the drugs. Everyone watched the monitors. One beep, then another, then a steady rhythm. Senator Blackwood's heart was beating on its own. "He's stable," the anesthesiologist said, disbelief in his voice. "Vitals are good. Pressure normalizing." Emma stepped back from the table. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline crash hitting hard. "Close him up," she said to Dr. Reed. "I need a minute." She walked to the scrub room, stripped off her gloves, stared at her hands. She'd done it. Against impossible odds. She'd saved Senator Blackwood's life, the man who'd destroyed hers. Dr. Reed found her 10 minutes later. "He's closed, stable, moving to ICU." Emma nodded. Couldn't speak yet. "You were incredible in there," Dr. Reed said. "That patch technique, I've never seen anything like it." It was reckless. It was brilliant. He put a hand on her shoulder. You saved his life, Emma. Against 70% odds. You saved him. Emma finally looked up. Now we wait and see if Sterling tries to kill me for it. They didn't have to wait long. Emma and Dr. Reed walked out of the surgical suite together. Both exhausted. Both running on fumes. Victoria was waiting in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. She grabbed Emma in a hug. "Thank you," Victoria sobbed. "Thank you so much." Emma stood stiff in her arms, uncomfortable with the gratitude. "He's not out of the woods yet," Emma said. "Next 48 hours are critical. But he's alive. Because of you." Behind Victoria, Emma saw them. 2 police officers, walking toward her with purpose. Dr. Reed saw them too, stepped in front of Emma. "Can I help you?" he asked. The older officer, gray-haired and tired-looking, pulled out a badge. "Detective Morrison, this is Detective Chen. We need to speak with Dr. Emma Cross." Emma's stomach dropped. "About what?" "About a surgery you performed 6 years ago. New evidence has come to light." Detective Morrison's expression was apologetic. "We need you to come down to the station. Answer some questions." "She just spent 6 hours in surgery," Dr. Reed said. "Can't this wait?" "I'm afraid not." Victoria stepped forward. "What is this about Dr. Cross just saved my father's life?" "Ma'am, we're not arresting her, just asking questions." Detective Chen was younger, sharper, but she does need to come with us. Emma knew what this was. Sterling's trap springing shut. She'd succeeded in the surgery, so now he was moving to Plan B. Frame her for Michael Blackwood's death. "I want my lawyer present," Emma said. "That's your right." Detective Morrison nodded. "We can arrange that at the station." Dr. Reed grabbed Emma's arm. "I'm coming with you." "Sir, that's not necessary." "I'm making it necessary." Dr. Reed's voice had steel in it. "Dr. Cross doesn't go anywhere without representation, and until her lawyer arrives, she's not answering any questions." The detectives exchanged glances. "Fine, but she's coming with us now." They led Emma through the hospital. Staff members stared, whispered. Emma kept her head up, refused to show the fear clawing at her chest. In the parking lot, a black sedan waited. Emma got in the back. Dr. Reed climbed in beside her. As they pulled away from the hospital, Emma saw him. Richard Sterling, standing near the entrance, watching, a small smile on his face. The police station was cold and institutional. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of burnt coffee and desperation. They put Emma in an interview room. Metal table, uncomfortable chairs, mirror that was obviously one-way glass. Dr. Reed sat beside her. "Don't say anything until your lawyer gets here." "I don't have a lawyer." "Victoria's handling it. She called from the hospital." Detective Morrison and Detective Chen entered. Morrison carried a thick folder. Chen held a tablet. "Dr. Cross," Morrison said, sitting down. "Thanks for coming in." "Did I have a choice?" "You're not under arrest. You're free to leave at any time." But they both knew that was a lie. If she left, it would look like guilt. Chen slid photos across the table. "Do you recognize this man?" Emma looked at the pictures. Michael Blackwood, young, smiling, alive. "Yes," she said quietly. "That's Michael Blackwood, the patient who died during my surgery 6 years ago." "What we're about to tell you might come as a surprise." Morrison opened the folder. "There's been an investigation, a private investigation conducted by the Blackwood family." Emma's heart raced. This was it. The accusation. The charges. "They recently discovered that Michael's medical records were altered," Morrison continued, "before his surgery. Someone removed information about his family history, his genetic condition." Emma went very still. "What?" Chen turned his tablet around, showed her documents, medical records with highlighted sections, deletion logs, digital fingerprints. "Someone changed his file," Chen said. Removed all mentions of Marfan syndrome. Removed family genetic history. Information that would have changed how you approached the surgery. Emma's mind reeled. That's impossible. I reviewed his file thoroughly. There was nothing about genetic conditions. We know, Morrison said. His expression was sympathetic now. We have evidence that the alterations were made by someone in Massachusetts General's administrative department. Someone who was paid a significant amount of money to sabotage your surgery. The room spun. Emma gripped the table. Why are you telling me this? Because we think you were set up 6 years ago, Chen said. And possibly today. Morrison leaned forward. We need to know everything about your current situation. Why you were working under a different name. Who knew your real identity? And who might want to frame you again? Emma looked at Dr. Reed. He nodded slightly. I need to make a call, Emma said. They let her use her phone. She called Victoria. Victoria answered immediately. Emma, are you okay? The lawyer is on the way. They're saying the records were altered, that someone set me up 6 years ago. There was a long pause. Then Victoria's voice tight with anger. I know. I found the evidence 2 weeks ago. That's why I hired the private investigator. Who did it? Richard Sterling, my father's campaign manager. Emma's blood ran cold. Why? 3 weeks before Michael's surgery, someone was blackmailing my father, threatening to expose the family's genetic condition unless he paid $2 million. Victoria's voice shook. Sterling paid to have the records altered. He wanted Michael to die. But why? Because my father was planning to retire from politics. After Michael died, he wanted to step away. Grieve. Be with family. Victoria took a shaky breath. Sterling convinced him to stay, to use his grief, his anger, to fuel a political campaign. The pieces clicked into place. Michael's death, Emma's destruction, Senator Blackwood's crusade for medical accountability. Sterling had orchestrated all of it. Where are you now? Emma asked. Outside Sterling's office. I've been recording him. Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper. Emma, he's on the phone right now, talking about you, about the surgery. He's planning something. Keep recording. Get me proof. Emma hung up, turned to the detectives. I know who set me up, she said, and I can prove it. The door burst open. Victoria ran in, followed by a lawyer Emma didn't recognize. Victoria's face was flushed, her phone in her hand. I have it, Victoria said breathlessly. Everything you need. She connected her phone to the detective's computer, played audio files. Sterling's voice filled the room, cold, calculating. The surgery's done. Blackwood survived. That's unfortunate, but we can still salvage this. Another voice. How? The police investigation into Emma Cross. I planted evidence 3 months ago. Fake emails showing she knew about Michael Blackwood's genetic condition and ignored it. Expert testimony I've paid for. It'll be enough. And if it's not, then we create more evidence. Either way, Emma Cross goes down for murder, and Victoria takes her father's Senate seat. The recording continued. Sterling detailing his entire plan, the bribes he'd paid, the records he'd altered, the conspiracy that had destroyed Emma's life. When it finished, the interview room was silent. Detective Morrison looked at Detective Chen. Get a warrant. Now. Chen was already on his phone. On it. Morrison turned to Emma. Dr. Cross, I'm sorry for what you've been through. We'll need your full cooperation, but you're not a suspect. You're a victim. Emma couldn't speak. 6 years. 6 years of running, hiding, believing she was guilty of something, and it had all been a lie. Victoria sat down beside her. I'm sorry for everything my family put you through. Sterling used us, used Michael's death, used my father's grief. Where's Sterling now? Emma asked. His office at the campaign headquarters. Then let's go get him. 20 minutes later, Emma stood outside Sterling's office. Detectives Morrison and Chen flanking her. Victoria behind them with her lawyer. They could hear Sterling inside, on the phone, still scheming. Morrison knocked. "Richard Sterling, Chicago PD. We have a warrant for your arrest." The door opened. Sterling stood there, phone still in his hand. When he saw Emma, his expression flickered. Surprise, then rage. "What is this?" he demanded. Detective Chen pulled out handcuffs. "Richard Sterling, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder fraud, tampering with medical records, and obstruction of justice." "This is ridiculous. I want my lawyer." "You'll get one." Chen cuffed him. "But first, you're going to answer some questions about Michael Blackwood's death and about the $2 million you paid to alter his medical records." Sterling's face went pale. He looked at Victoria. You did this." Victoria met his eyes. No fear, just cold fury. "You killed my brother. You destroyed Dr. Cross. You used my father's grief for your own ambition." Her voice shook. "I did what I should have done months ago. I stopped you." They led Sterling away. He was still shouting, threatening lawyers, lawsuits, political connections. But Emma knew it didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming, the recordings damning. Sterling was done. She stood in the hallway, Dr. Reed beside her, Victoria in front of her. "What happens now?" Victoria asked quietly. Emma looked at her, this woman whose family had destroyed her life, who had also just saved it. "Now," Emma said, "your father recovers, the truth comes out, and I figure out who I am when I'm not running anymore." And Victoria nodded. "The exoneration documents are ready. My father will make a public statement as soon as he's well enough. Full confession, full apology. That doesn't give me back 6 years. I know, but it's a start." Emma turned to leave. "Dr. Cross," Victoria called after her, "thank you for saving him, even after everything. Thank you." Emma didn't respond, just walked away. Outside, dawn was breaking over Chicago, the sky pink and gold. Emma stood on the steps of the campaign headquarters, breathing in cold morning air. Dr. Reed came to stand beside her. "How are you feeling?" "I don't know." Emma looked at her hands. "For 6 years, I've been Anna Hayes, hiding, running. Now I can be Emma Cross again. But I'm not sure I remember how." "Then maybe you don't have to be either one." Dr. Reed smiled. "Maybe you get to decide who you are now." Emma's phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. "My father's awake, asking for you." Emma stared at the message. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to walk away and never look back. But she'd saved his life. Maybe she owed it to herself to see him one last time. "Come on," she said to Dr. Reed. "Let's finish this." Senator Blackwood's recovery room looked different in daylight. Less ominous. Just another hospital room with beeping monitors and antiseptic smell. He was awake when Emma and Dr. Reed entered, propped up on pillows, pale but alive. IV lines snaked into his arms, oxygen cannula in his nose. Victoria sat in the chair beside his bed. She stood when she saw Emma. "Thank you for coming," Victoria said. Emma didn't respond, just walked to the foot of the bed, kept distance between herself and the man who'd destroyed her life. Senator Blackwood looked at her, really looked at her. His eyes were clear, focused. None of the medicated haze from before surgery. "Dr. Cross," he said. His voice was weak but steady. "I understand Richard Sterling has been arrested." "Yes." "Victoria told me everything, what he did, what he planned." The senator's jaw tightened. "I've been a fool." "You've been worse than a fool." Emma's voice was ice. "You've been a coward. You knew the truth about Michael's condition, and you destroyed me anyway." Senator Blackwood didn't look away. "You're right. I knew within 2 years that Sterling had manipulated that everything. The altered records, the blackmail. All of it. Emma's hands clenched into fists. 2 years. You knew for 2 years and you said nothing. I was afraid of losing my Senate seat, my reputation, my political legacy. He took a shaky breath. I chose my career over the truth, over you, over everything. You're a monster. Yes. He met her eyes. But I'm a monster who wants to make this right. If that's even possible. Victoria moved to the window, staring out at Chicago. Dad's calling a press conference 2 days from now. He's going to tell everything. Emma laughed. Bitter. Harsh. A press conference. That's supposed to fix 6 years. No, Senator Blackwood said quietly. Nothing can fix what I did to you. But it's a start. The truth. Publicly. On record. And then what? You retire with your conscience clear, go off into the sunset feeling good about finally doing the right thing. No. The senator's voice broke. Then I live with what I've done. Every day. For whatever time I have left. Emma wanted to scream at him, wanted to rage, but standing there looking at this broken old man, she just felt tired. I'm not doing this for you, Emma said. I'm doing it because people deserve to know the truth. About Sterling, about Michael, about what really happened. I understand. Emma turned to leave. Dr. Cross. The senator's voice stopped her. You saved my life. After everything I did to you. That takes strength I never had. Thank you. Emma walked out without responding. The story broke that night. Campaign manager arrested in medical conspiracy. Surgeon exonerated after 6 years. The truth about Michael Blackwood's death. Emma's phone exploded. Reporters, former colleagues, medical schools, hospitals. Everyone suddenly wanted to talk to the surgeon who'd been vindicated. She turned her phone off, sat in her apartment in the dark. Dr. Reed showed up at midnight with Chinese takeout and beer. Figured you might need company, he said. They ate in silence for a while. Emma couldn't taste the food. Everything felt distant, surreal. The medical board called me, Dr. Reed said finally. They want to expedite your license reinstatement. Full restoration. No conditions. Emma set down her chopsticks. Just like that. Just like that. You could be operating again in 2 weeks. I don't know if I want to. Dr. Reed looked at her, surprised. What do you mean? Emma stood, paced the small apartment. For 6 years, I've dreamed about being a surgeon again, getting back what was taken from me. But now that it's possible, I don't know if that's what I want anymore. What do you want? I don't know. Emma stopped at the window. Chicago glittered below. Being a nurse these past 6 years, it reminded me why I went into medicine in the first place. It's not about complex surgeries or prestige. It's about helping people, connecting with them. Dr. Reed smiled. You can do both. Be a surgeon and help people. Maybe. Emma turned back to him. What about you? Your hands. I'm stepping down as chief of surgery, taking a position in medical education. He took a drink of beer, teaching residents. Turns out I can still do a lot of good, even if I can't operate. That's a big change. So is yours? He raised his beer bottle. To new beginnings. Emma clinked her bottle against his. To new beginnings. The next morning, Emma woke to her doorbell ringing. She opened it to find Victoria standing there with coffee and bagels. Peace offering, Victoria said. Can I come in? Emma stepped aside. Let her in. They sat at Emma's tiny kitchen table. The silence was awkward, heavy with everything unsaid. I'm stepping down from my father's Senate seat, Victoria said finally. Running in the special election on my own terms. Emma raised an eyebrow. Politics after everything. Because of everything. Victoria's eyes were fierce. I want to introduce healthcare reform legislation. Protect doctors from frivolous lawsuits. Make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. That's ambitious. So was saving my father's life after what he did to you. Victoria smiled slightly. I learned from the best. Despite everything, Emma felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. I also wanted to tell you, Victoria continued, we're establishing a scholarship, in Michael's name, for medical students pursuing cardiac surgery. Emma's throat tightened. Victoria, you don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Michael loved medicine. He would have been a doctor if he'd lived long enough. Victoria pulled out a folder. We want you on the selection committee, if you're willing. Emma opened the folder, saw the scholarship details. Full tuition, living expenses, research grants. This is generous. It's the least we can do. Victoria stood to leave. Think about it. No pressure. After she left, Emma sat with the folder, thinking about Michael Blackwood, 28 years old, dead because of genetics and Richard Sterling's ambition. Maybe this scholarship could be something good, something that honored his memory properly. Emma picked up her phone, called the medical school. I want to teach. Surgical residents. Whatever classes you need. The press conference happened 2 days later. Emma almost didn't go, but Dr. Reed convinced her. You need to be there, to see it, to hear him say it publicly. The hospital conference room was packed. Cameras everywhere, reporters jostling for position. Emma stood in the back with Dr. Reed and Victoria. Senator Blackwood walked to the podium. He moved slowly, still recovering from surgery, but his voice was strong. 6 years ago, he began, I destroyed an innocent woman's life. The room erupted, questions shouted, cameras flashing. Senator Blackwood raised his hand for silence. Please, let me finish. He told everything. The autopsy report that showed Marfan syndrome, his decision to suppress the genetic findings, Richard Sterling's manipulation, the altered medical records. Dr. Emma Cross did not kill my son, the senator said. His voice shook. My son had a genetic condition. From my family. Dr. Cross did everything right. But I needed someone to blame. So I destroyed her career, her reputation, her life. Emma felt tears on her cheeks, didn't bother wiping them away. I used my political power to ruin an innocent woman. Senator Blackwood continued. I let Richard Sterling manipulate me into becoming a monster. I chose my career over the truth, over justice, over basic human decency. He turned, found Emma in the crowd, looked directly at her. Dr. Cross saved my life 2 days ago. After everything I did to her, she had every reason to let me die. But she saved me anyway. His voice cracked. That's the kind of person she is. That's the kind of person I should have been. The room was silent now. Every camera focused on the senator. I'm issuing a full public apology, a complete exoneration. Dr. Cross's medical license will be restored. And I'm personally funding a $10 million settlement to compensate her for the years I stole from her. More camera flashes. More questions shouted. A reporter stood. Senator Blackwood, are you resigning? Yes, effective immediately. I'm stepping down from the Senate. I don't deserve to serve the people of Illinois anymore. Another reporter. Dr. Cross, how do you feel? Emma stepped forward. Found the camera. This was her moment. 6 years in the making. I feel tired, she said, her voice steady despite the emotions churning inside. Relieved, and still angry. Senator Blackwood's apology doesn't erase 6 years of running, hiding, being afraid. She paused. Let that sink in. But it's a step toward healing for both of us. Emma looked at the senator. I accept his apology. Not for him, for myself. Because carrying this anger for the rest of my life would only give him more power over me. The reporters erupted again, questions flying. Emma walked out. Dr. Reed followed. Outside, the winter air was cold and clean. Emma breathed it in. deep lungfuls. "You okay?" Dr. Reed asked. "I will be." 3 months later, Emma stood in a lecture hall at Chicago Memorial, teaching a room full of surgical residents about complex aortic repairs. She'd accepted the teaching position, turned down offers from Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, Massachusetts General. All the prestigious hospitals that had ignored her 6 years ago suddenly wanted her back. But Emma didn't want prestige anymore. She wanted purpose. "The key to this surgery," she told the residents, "is understanding that perfection isn't the goal. Saving the patient is the goal. Sometimes that means taking risks, using experimental techniques, trusting your instincts." Dr. Reed sat in the back row, smiling. He'd become her mentor in reverse, teaching her how to teach. After the lecture, a young resident approached. Female, early 20s, nervous energy. "Dr. Cross, I just wanted to say thank you." Emma looked at her. "For what?" "Your story. What you survived. It inspired me to keep going when I wanted to quit." The resident's eyes shone. "You proved that even when everything falls apart, you can rebuild." Emma felt something warm in her chest. Pride, maybe, or hope. "Thank you," Emma said. "But remember, you don't rebuild alone. You do it with help from good people." That evening, Emma met Victoria for coffee. They'd been doing this weekly, slowly building something that might eventually become friendship. "The scholarship recipients were announced," Victoria said. 15 students, full rides, all pursuing cardiac surgery. "That's amazing. We want you to mentor one of them, if you're interested." Emma thought about it. Mentoring a young surgeon, passing on knowledge, making sure the next generation was better. "I'd like that," she said. Victoria smiled. Michael would have liked it too. They sat in comfortable silence, drinking coffee, watching Chicago's evening rush hour through the window. Emma's phone buzzed. Text from Dr. Reed. "David Chen is being discharged today, full recovery. Wanted to thank you personally." Emma smiled. David Chen, the surgery that had brought everything into motion. Father of 3, 42 years old, alive because she'd taken the risk. "Good news?" Victoria asked. "Very good news." Emma walked home that night. The cold didn't bother her anymore. Chicago had become home in a way no city had been in 6 years. She didn't have to hide anymore. Didn't have to run. She was Dr. Emma Cross. Surgeon, teacher, survivor. Her apartment building came into view. Emma climbed the steps, fishing for her keys. That's when she saw it. An envelope on her doorstep. No address, no stamp. Just her name written in elegant script. Dr. Emma Cross. Emma's hand froze. Something about the envelope felt wrong, dangerous. She picked it up, opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed, anonymous. "Congratulations on your resurrection, but you've made a mistake. Sterling was a pawn. The game is bigger than you know. Your surgery on Michael Blackwood wasn't random. The Blackwoods were targeted. So were you. And we're still watching." Emma's hands shook. She flipped the paper over. On the back was a photograph. Her. During Michael Blackwood's surgery 6 years ago. Inside the operating room. Taken from an angle that should have been impossible. Unless someone on her surgical team had been there. Part of it. Emma's phone rang. She answered without thinking. "Did you get my message?" A voice. Distorted. Electronic. "Who is this?" "Someone who knows the truth. About Michael Blackwood. About your surgery. About what really happened that day. Sterling altered the records. He paid off the hospital administration. Sterling was a useful idiot. A middleman." The voice paused. "The people who actually orchestrated Michael's death are still out there. And they're very interested in you. Why? Because you're asking questions. Getting close to things you shouldn't." Another pause. Dr. Cross, you were always collateral damage, but now you're becoming a problem. The line went dead. Emma stood on her doorstep, photo in one hand, phone in the other, her mind racing. Sterling had been arrested. The senator had confessed. Justice had been served. But if this caller was telling the truth, then everything was a lie. Sterling wasn't the mastermind. He was just another piece on the board. And whoever was really behind Michael's death was still out there, still watching. Emma looked at the photo again, saw herself 6 years younger, hands covered in Michael's blood, trying desperately to save him. Someone had been in that operating room, taking pictures, documenting her failure, planning something bigger. She pulled out her phone, called Dr. Reed. Emma, what's wrong? We need to talk. Now. She looked up and down the street, saw a black car parked across from her building, watching. I think we just solved the wrong crime. What do you mean? Sterling didn't orchestrate Michael's death. He was working for someone else. Emma's voice shook. And whoever it is, they're still out there. She hung up, called Victoria. Victoria, I need you to pull all of Michael's medical records, everything. And I need to know everyone who had access to his files before the surgery. Emma, what's going on? I think there's more to this than Sterling. I think Michael was murdered, and I think we're all still in danger. Emma looked at the black car again. The driver's window was tinted, but she could feel eyes on her. She went inside, locked her door, triple-checked the locks. But she knew it didn't matter. Whoever was behind this had been watching for 6 years. They knew where she lived, where she worked, everything about her. Emma sat in her apartment, photo and letters spread on the table in front of her. For 6 years, she'd thought she was running from a crime she didn't commit. But maybe she'd been running from something much worse. Maybe she'd been a witness to murder, and the killers had been waiting for her to stop hiding so they could finish what they started. Emma picked up her phone one more time, called Detective Morrison. Detective, it's Emma Cross. I need to reopen a case, Michael Blackwood's death. I don't think it was medical malpractice. She took a deep breath. I think it was murder, and I think I can prove it. Outside her window, the black car drove away. But Emma knew it would be back. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. She'd survived Richard Sterling, survived Senator Blackwood's vendetta, survived 6 years of hiding. Now she had to survive whoever was really behind Michael's death. And this time, she wasn't running. This time, she was ready to fight. Emma looked at her reflection in the dark window. Saw Dr. Emma Cross staring back. Not the broken woman who'd disappeared 6 years ago. Not the frightened nurse who'd hidden in plain sight. Someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who'd been tested by fire and came out forged in steel. The people who'd destroyed her life thought they'd won. They thought she'd stay quiet, stay grateful for her exoneration, fade back into obscurity. They were wrong. Dr. Emma Cross was done running, done hiding, done being a victim. Now she was going hunting. Thanks for following Emma's journey. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, resilience, and the fight for truth, hit that like button and subscribe for more intense medical dramas. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think happens next. Who do you think is really behind Michael's death? Your theories fuel these stories, so let's discuss in the comments. Until next time, remember that the truth always finds a way to surface, no matter how deep it's buried.